Welcome to The Interview, where we share inspiring career stories and advice from experts and thought leaders on any and all topics, everything from college admissions tips to the latest medical and self-care advice. I'm host Leslie Heaney, and I'm excited to share these compelling stories with you. I hope you'll learn something new and hopefully share a few laughs along the way. Today we're talking with world-renowned photographer and one of my oldest and favorite friends, Douglas Friedman. Described as the it boy of the design world for his high-profile fashion and interiors photography, Douglas is famous in his own right. He's got a fanatical Instagram following and a portfolio of work of celebrity and interior shoots for magazines like Architectural Digest and Elle Decor. As an old friend of mine from college, you'll get to hear how Douglas went from looking for his passion and life's work to becoming one of the most celebrated interior design and architecture photographers of a generation. And now, Douglas Friedman. Okay. Okay, great. Let's take it from the top.
Okay, Les.
Where did you grow up? I mean, I should say to the audience, know the answer to these questions, but I think it's important to get a full understanding of the origin of Friedman. So,
I was born in New York Hospital in 1972. And I grew up on the Upper West Side.
And you have a twin brother.
I do. He was born in 1972 too.
Same time, same day.
Just 4 minutes later. And there's an older sister. There's a mom and a dad who are incredible people. Actually, all of them.
They are incredible people.
I got lucky. I got to say, I think we all got lucky with good families, like good people.
We can talk about that offline, but in your case, that's 100%. And I didn't tell you this, but maybe it was last month, I went to the Bono show. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't get to him, but I'm pretty sure I saw Gene walking out the side door, as only he would, because I also walked out the side door because it was the fastest way out. I'm like, it's Gene.
It could have been my father.
Yeah.
I'd ask him.
It might have been.
They're out of town.
Yeah. Okay, so you grew up in New York, and you went to.
I went to an all-boys Catholic school for 12 years.
Collegiate, right?
Collegiate, yeah.
Yeah.
Collegiate I think when collegiate was cool, when it was in like the old building, when there was this old church, when you had to like sit on a floor where the classrooms weren't big enough, where it wasn't very fancy, but it was.
And now it's.
Well, they moved.
Yeah.
They moved campuses, and they moved to some fancy big glass building in that weird neighborhood that's not like a made up neighborhood. Like if you're a New Yorker, it's a made up neighborhood. It's like Riverside Drive in the like high 50s, which never existed as anything in New York City, and then it. Oh, you're right.
See, I didn't realize it moved.
They moved.
Not that I've got my finger on the pulse of every
if you have
school's location,
if you have kids, you'd think about it.
Yeah.
And they moved. They moved to a nondescript new glass building, which was completely the antithesis of the school I went to, which was like a 360-year-old church.
Yeah, I forgot about
at the time.
And then when you were there, though, were you doing anything in the arts?
Was I creative?
There was just some air quotes on creative.
Was I doing anything? I don't know. I was kind of like, it was the 80s in New York City. It was an all boys prep school. I was like kind of the chubby, like gay Jewish kid. But I didn't know I was gay because it was the 80s in New York and nobody was talking about it. Well, except like ACT UP. But at all boys prep school, a class of 50, there was no support.
But the chubby part, I don't remember the chubby part.
I was chubby. I wasn't athletic. I was like the manager of the track team. I was in like the theater club, art class.
Then you decide, for the viewers or the listeners, we should mention that we went to college together. And what a fun and amazing 4 years that was. Yeah. But so you get out to Occidental.
Oh, yeah.
You knew you wanted to go to school in California.
No, actually, I got into my first choice, which was Vassar. And I was going to go to Vassar until...
Thank God.
Until my mother, Karen Friedman, was so excited, and she was like, "I'm going to come visit you on the weekends," and I was like, "Oh no!"
Oh my! Karen could have rid the rails right up there to Poughkeepsie.
She ruined it for herself, and I was like, I'm going to go to my safety school. So I went from first
I
choice to
didn't know that.
my safety school was Oxy.
Amazing.
And I got to tell you, I mean, I don't know how it would have turned out had I gone to Vassar, but Oxy, I look back at Oxy as 4 of the greatest years.
Well, it was so fun. And the other thing too is, if you recall, because it was your life, but you were always like tapped into what was happening in Hollywood. You were, right?
Yeah, we lived off campus.
I know. You lived off campus. So I was a freshman when Doug was a junior. And there was a very good mutual friend of both of ours, Justinian. He now sort of like, his name is Seal or Madonna. He's
just one word.
Justinian. And he...
But we knew him then as Justin.
Right.
And by the way, he showed up and he was my doppelganger.
Yeah,
because
true.
we both had ponytails.
Clogs.
Well,
do you do the clog thing?
Went
or
to
is that
jail
more
on
him?
those, but
Yeah, that's why I have the clog.
no, Justin always had Justin had a better sense. He had a much better sense of like style than I did.
But they could do. There was a lot of. Not that you were doing confusing things or standing in for each other, but there was a lot of confusion sometimes on campus of who was who.
I mean, I could tell this story, but we hooked up once.
I remember you both were talking about you didn't know whose body was whose.
Right, he was like, he was like making out with a mirror.
I mean, you just can't make it up. It's so true.
No, God, I can't.
God, when that happened too, that was really, I mean, the earth moved because it really was
living off campus. Things
quite a combination. So so you were living off campus, and my freshman year, week 1, Justin was like, "We're going to this great party." Just like, because I was a freshman.
Well, that was when we were living.
That's when you and Melissa lived on
Eagle Rock View
Eagle
Drive
Rock.
with Larice back
Yeah,
then.
I mean, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
But you were always somehow going to David Geffen's house. You were always doing
Sandy Gallon,
that's who it was. Did he remind me what he wasn't he involved?
Dolly
with
Parton's
David?
manager.
Okay, that's how
Him.
Did he live in Malibu?
He had a house in Malibu.
Yeah. Okay, this is coming back.
Where Brad Pitt was playing frisbee when I got there. Yeah, it was that.
Right. See, this was always happening, but at that time, so on an interest level, you were very kind of film focused, if I remember.
I majored in anthropology.
Right. I forgot about that.
Because of I was crazy about this girl, Melissa White.
Was Melissa anthropology?
And I was
Elaine?
obsessed with Melissa White. When I was a freshman, she was a sophomore. She transferred in. I was obsessed with her. I thought it was before I had come out of the closet. And I was like, she's the one I'm going to date.
Yeah.
And I tried to kiss her. I remember I took her up to the Angeles Crest Highway, like Inspiration Point. I drove her up there at night to show her the view of Los Angeles. I tried, like something was going to happen, but I ended up just coming out to her.
Yeah.
And then she tried to kiss me. Like once I was gay, then she went for it.
This all sounds about right. And that was the amazing house that you two had your junior and senior year, which was my freshman year. And somehow I found my home away from home.
No, you were sophomore.
I was a freshman.
When I was a sophomore. We were just a year apart, I think.
No, you were 2 years apart.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Melissa was a senior. Melissa was it was her 23rd
You only had
birthday. Yeah. And then you guys moved.
You're right.
And then maybe you moved to.
You're right.
Was it Hollywood?
Holloway Drive.
Holloway Drive,
Behind
which
Tower
was
Records.
the most incredible.
That little house.
It's a house.
We lived with Candace's ex-boyfriend Brian.
Oh my God! I forgot about him.
People think this is interesting.
I don't know. We're gonna edit it out. But anyway, we're having a lot. That's what's the best part is we can edit it out. But yes, I think it's so interesting, or at least it'll be interesting to us.
And like 6 other people.
Okay, so no, definitely not. They want to hear where you lived. Anyway, so your anthropology
and I minored in film.
Right, okay.
So I was going to make documentaries.
Yeah.
That was the idea.
I remember this. And what were some of the things, remind me, do you remember? I remember you had, or maybe I'm conflating you with somebody else.
Like the projects I worked on?
Yeah, wasn't there one big one? Or maybe I'm thinking
gay
of...
porn industry in Los Angeles.
Oh, was that it?
That was my senior thesis.
Okay, now it's coming back to me. See, I knew there was something.
Sorry, Mom.
I don't know how did you go to sets? I can't remember.
I knew some people in the business.
Yeah.
And I asked a lot of questions and inferred a lot. I think I got really creative with
Did you interview any actors?
I did.
And now I'm doing my air quotes on actors.
I did. Like, one of those actors might have been Melissa Culligan.
Oh my God! Oh, I don't remember.
Like so
it was like a.
I feel like there was some of it was. I elaborated on the. I was 20. I was 20, and I like looking back now, thinking about it. I think I bit off more. I feel like I was in over my head. Living in Hollywood, I was young, and then the reality set in of who I had to speak with and what I had to do, and I think I got nervous.
Doing that thesis
and having to like dive into that world.
Yeah.
It started with like the modeling industry, and that's because I infiltrated a modeling agency in LA as an intern, but was really writing like an ethnographic study on the business, and that's how I got invited to like Sandy Gallons and David Geffen.
Right. Okay. Because I couldn't remember how. I remember you couldn't do whatever we were doing because you were
in Malibu on a Sunday.
On a Sunday with Brad Pitt,
Shirley MacLaine.
Right. I mean, it's so good. It's just so good.
Who else was there? I mean, it was weird.
But you go. There was always like a pool party. I feel like there was a lot of leather sectionals. I don't know how
I was. I was slotted into the weird, like, didn't quite fit in with the male models because I was working at a modeling agency, and I was asked to cast a party. Sandy Gallon was having a party, and I was asked by my boss, the male model's agent, to cast a bunch of boys to bring on Sunday afternoon to Sandy Gallon's house in Malibu for a brunch with like Shirley MacLaine and Diane Warren. Diane Warren, who, you know Diane Warren. She wrote every great song.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into, but it was one of those things where it didn't lead to anything more than it kind of just opened my world up because, you know, I didn't want to be an anthropologist, and I wasn't going to be a documentary filmmaker. So,
but then you started working for David Fincher, right?
Right. Because I think because I'd lived off campus and I'd moved to Hollywood, so and anthropology was a major that maybe that's why I chose it. Maybe Melissa was reason number 2, but anthropology met on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I only went to my senior year, I finished my senior thesis as a junior because I wanted to finish it with Melissa.
Yeah.
So, and Ben Affleck. He was there with us too.
I forgot about that. I forgot mentioning
So did
that.
he.
I don't think Ben talks about that much.
I saw Ben at the premiere of Argo, and just for the record, and he'll never hear this, maybe he will, but at the premiere, and Ben and I were we were close.
Well, he used to be at Phi Sig. I mean,
Phi Sig.
I think when I arrived, he was already sort of, he'd done, is it not School Ties? Is it School Ties?
No. Because he was,
okay.
No,
but he had left. I don't know. Then
because his girlfriend was living with me when Matt was spending the summer with Ben, and they were writing the script.
Okay.
Maybe that's the script
for Good Will Hunting.
Yeah. Oh, he'd done School Ties. No.
Remember, I thought he had because he had left and then he came back
But Ben, I as a typical New Yorker living in Los Angeles, I crashed my car and couldn't get home from school after class every day. So Ben drove me home, and he had a convertible Saab, Les.
I know.
A Saab.
Well, I had mine. I had mine. Not a convertible, but
Ben drove me home from school every day. And so I would say back then we were close. And then I saw him at the premiere of Argo, and I was like, Ben. And he was like, oh, you're the gay guy with the twin. I was like, that's your takeaway.
Are you serious? Oh my God.
That's the takeaway.
Oh my God. And we need to be like, and you got a diploma from the same college that I went to and forgot that?
I'm not sure.
I don't know if he did either. I think he did. We can ask Melissa and call a lifeline. He did try to play tonsil with hockey with her at Phi Sig.
I was so jealous.
One too many times.
I came out to Ben.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He drove me when he was driving me home from anthropology class up to Eagle Rock in the convertible Saab.
Oh my God.
I came out to him thinking,
oh my God.
And I was thinking,
Oh, did you think that maybe
he would come out to me and then we would be boyfriends?
Oh, I didn't even know.
That didn't happen.
I didn't know that backstory. I'm kind of curious about what his reaction was, but we can talk about that. Okay, so you are senior year. You've got the 4-day weekend, right? Because you've got class Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I
have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday off. Right.
It's the 4 days, and you're kind of dipping your toe in the industry,
living in Hollywood.
Living in Hollywood at an amazing house. Oh no, but didn't you? Anyway, this is going to be.
Well, we had the
people,
apartment,
but you moved to that other apartment, which was awesome.
Grace Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you started working. You started working for David Fincher as his assistant, right? Yeah. Am I okay?
Well, so Melissa, Melissa, she was working. She had graduated. She was working at Propaganda Films, which was, at the time in the early '90s, was the production company of note. That was where all of the great directors were working music videos and commercials, not film yet. And I got a job as a receptionist.
Yeah, oh my God, this is all coming back.
Which I was then immediately replaced by a British girl.
But not for that. You were there for a little bit because I remember calling Melissa at work and you would answer.
Propaganda Films.
Yes, exactly. It's so good.
And then
it's so good.
Then like Anton Fuqua needed an assistant for a day, and then Spike Jonze needed an assistant and Mark Romanek needed someone for a week, and then David Fincher needed someone. And
they were all doing music videos at the time.
Music videos and commercials.
Yeah,
and that's when music videos were like, you needed videos to sell music.
Yeah.
And they were spending a lot of money on music videos. Like they were spending like $5 million to do a music video. And then David Fincher needed an assistant to help for a week while he was, and I guess he liked me because I was there for almost 3 years, I think.
Yeah.
And it was a very that was a very exciting time because the movie, because I was with David on the post-production on the movie Seven.
Right.
And then that movie was like a game changer.
Did Brad remember you from the Frisbee at the barbecue?
I don't think but Gwyneth did because
she
went to high school.
Yes,
we were in that same world in high school. But working with Fincher was 3 years. It was Seven, Fight Club,
right,
The Game.
Yep.
And it was, I mean, for like a nerdy kid, for this 3-year-old kid coming, like I was thrust into this exciting. I mean, it was exciting in Hollywood in the '90s. Brad Pitt, Gwyneth Paltrow, Madonna, like you name it. There was no social media, so things were much more personal.
Yeah.
And I don't know, people were more trusting of your presence because nothing was getting broadcast to the. It was an exciting time to be doing all of this. Parties were better. Yeah, parties were better.
Yeah, 100%.
Like we had fun at some of those.
So
I quit.
Yeah. Well, I never did really anything. Anyway.
No, I mean I quit Fincher.
Oh, I thought you meant like doing it.
What are you talking about, Lance? Hollywood in the '90s?
Basically, I was like, I never really. You know me, I never really.
No, I was a good kid.
Yeah, you were.
I wasn't terrible. I wasn't off the rails.
So I remember you were working for him, and you were working really hard, right? And so then you decided that you were going to travel, if I remember, just kind of take. Now, were you taking pictures during that time? I can't remember when you were working for David Fincher, or
no. I mean, no, I wasn't taking pictures. I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
All I was doing was, I feel like those 4 years after college, I was ruling things out.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm not going to be an anthropologist. I'm not going to make documentary films. I'm not going to be a receptionist. I'm not going to be a feature filmmaker. Working with David, he's so good. Like he was the best. Like watching him work, listening to him, I was like, wow, this guy is like, he knows everything.
What was so great about how
he knew? Like he could commit to a project for years and not lose interest.
Right.
And he was like he was probably like a nerd. Like he knew more than the stunt coordinator. He knew more than the special effects guy. He was writing. He knew what he was doing. He thought about it a lot.
With like every aspect of the production.
And it showed in those movies.
Yeah.
And I think my takeaway from working with David was that I'm never going to be that good at that. So why pursue it? I'll never do what I won't be what he is, and he's incredible. I'm going to do something I can be incredible at. I still didn't know what that was.
Right. Okay. Because I remember that time, and I think I don't know, was your brother living in Indonesia at the time? Okay. So you were going, I think, to go visit Jason.
I was like, I sold everything I owned.
Yeah.
I had, and everything I owned, I had $15,000. And I bought an around the world plane ticket. Like you could buy one ticket that was like California, Singapore, Bangkok, Egypt, Paris. And like I had to fill in the blanks. And I had $15,000 in American Express traveler's checks.
Oh my God, so good.
In a money belt. So I had
like a Merce.
It was I had all of this. It was all my money for a year.
In a
money belt that I would wear around my waist,
the money belt
under my clothes.
Yeah,
and I spent.
Were you in hostels and stuff, right?
I mean, I was living like in weird rooms in Bangkok where the walls went up 6 feet and then it was finished with screen to the ceiling.
Yeah,
and then the bathroom was down the hall, and it was $3 a night. Or I was trekking in the Himalayas for 6 weeks and would spend $1 to unroll my sleeping bag, like in a barn above the cows because their heat would rise through the rickety floors and keep you warm.
So I can't remember why you didn't get the Lonely Planet out and find out.
That was the Lonely Planet.
You can stay at a hostel.
I spent 6 weeks I wanted to go see Mount Everest at sunrise.
Yes, now. And was that the trip where you got the parasite and lost
all the parasites?
I mean, remember we were talking about if we could market that to people on the Upper East Side or just like bring them on vacation to get a worm, and then you had to go to the CDC doctor that the UN usually
You remember
uses.
all this?
Yeah.
God, I haven't thought about this.
But the photography piece, okay, so you're there. Wasn't that where you started taking pictures?
I was taking pictures.
And did you buy? Because back then,
I had a Nikon.
Yes, with the lens.
It was okay. So I'm thinking back to 1997, and I was backpacking. I was out there for 9 months, but I did this one leg, which was I was going to go see Mount Everest at sunrise. I was going to summit a peak at 18,000 feet called Gokyo-ri, which was like across the Khumbu Valley from Everest. And to get there, I had a knapsack. I had a camera, 2 lenses, like rolls of film, a mini disc player, 10 mini discs, and a paperback book that I would swap out. Like if I finished the book, you could usually find another book along the way. But I had to carry all that in a knapsack. That's like 20, 30 pounds of everything that now is your telephone is in your pocket. And so it was an incredible amount of stuff but I had 6 weeks of trekking, and I had 20 rolls of film. So you had to be so thoughtful about every picture you took, because that's all you had. And you didn't know what was coming.
But you weren't even thinking, though, at that time that you were taking pictures that were, I don't think, that were art, right? You just were taking pictures to document your trip.
I guess it was a hobby.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to take pictures. And if I think back, I took pictures in high school for the yearbook. And I took it like a darkroom class.
Wasn't there a Polaroid? Didn't you have a Polaroid at some point?
Oh, I probably did.
Yeah. Because I remember that.
But I remember, do you remember Sean Spellman?
Yes.
So
I've actually seen him.
Yeah, he's
recently. He's a stylist. Yeah.
Still. But like a world famous.
Yeah. He's
incredibly
very nice.
Successful, handsome stylist. And Dave Scott had introduced me to Sean Spellman. So Sean and I dated, and then he dumped me when I was like going to go backpack. He got a little upset that I was like, you fell in love with me, and then I was like leaving to go travel the world. Anyway, so when I when I got really, really sick I got really sick and I lost all the weight and I couldn't backpack anymore. I was down to like 140 pounds and I was like in Egypt in August, like I got to get home. And I used the last of my money because I was supposed to
call Skippy.
Well, I was supposed to,
Sean.
Yeah, I was supposed to I was supposed to get to Paris and then by trains and I just couldn't. So I bought a ticket in Istanbul. I just bought a ticket with the last of my money to New York, not even thinking clearly. I was so I was ill. I was delirious. And I flew back to New York City, went to my parents' apartment. It was like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and they weren't home. They were in Europe. And there was no spare key left with the doorman because like something had been like stolen, or my mother thought someone in the building had like stolen her jewelry. So she took the spare key. So I was like locked out.
And you called Skippy? Why didn't you call me? I can't remember when. It's 10 o'clock at night?
Skippy. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock at night. It was like, I think I knew Sean's number by heart. So I called him and, I went over to his place. There's a reason I'm telling you the story, and not that he then got dysentery.
He didn't.
From me, yeah.
He did. I didn't know it's
Yeah, and so, but
Had I known that, I would have used your toothbrush. It's like Ozempic. I didn't know it was transferable.
It was.
Okay.
And so, but what Sean, so I was back in New York and I needed a job. And Sean was working as an assistant fashion stylist to Bill Mullen. And Sean was like, I can get you a job as a photo assistant. And he did.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So Sean introduced me to someone that got me a gig as a photo assistant to Gilles Ben-Simon. I lasted one day.
And then what happened? What happened after that? But did you know after that one day that you liked being
It was interesting. I mean, the process was interesting. It was weird. And then my next job as a photo assistant was weird. It was so strange because I was asked to be Julia Roberts' technical advisor on the movie Stepmom.
Oh my gosh. This is like a hot tub time machine of the highest order. I forgot about that.
And so I'd only been a photo assistant once, but I pretended I knew what I was doing.
Right. Which, by the way, The Imposter is...
Totally.
Right?
Went to B&H Photo, learned how to load cameras, went to set. Chris Columbus liked me, the director, put me in the movie.
Oh, I forgot. You didn't mention that.
I played
her. A little bit odd.
I played Julia Roberts' photo assistant.
But you were also remember you were in the Dave Matthews Band video in college? You were constantly getting...
I was doing weird things. I was saying, listen, I could look at it now because I actively practice saying yes to experiences.
Yeah.
Even if they're complicated or unconventional. But I was doing that since I was a kid.
Yeah, you were doing that. You did that all through college.
Curious.
Yeah.
I moved, a single gay man, I moved to West Texas. It just felt like the right thing to do later in life.
I want to talk about Martha. So I'm on a linear path.
Yeah, sorry.
No, because I'm going to ADD on you, and we're going to go back to Stepmom, which I somehow forgot, but it's coming back. It came back to me. But you get that gig, and you're learning as you go, right? You're learning as you go. And when did you realize that taking pictures was something that you loved to do, or that you were really good at? And that could be, as you were talking about earlier with the David Fincher, just kind of, you knew you would never really necessarily be, I'm using your words, good, as good as that, at that as you'd want to be. And so, but looking at the pictures that you took on that trip, which I've seen, that trip that you went on, Did
I make you sit through a slideshow?
Yeah, I know. I've seen all your slideshows. That's you had that talent at the same time that you obviously had the interest, but maybe at that time it wasn't.
There was no interest.
Formalized.
I didn't even know. I didn't know what I wanted to be. I never thought I'd make money. I never thought I'd, have be successful. It was the idea of that was because I didn't know where to go. So I was kind of just trying to stay busy, at least doing something.
Yeah.
And so, but I was a photo assistant. I met another photo assistant who then introduced me to another photo assistant, which turned into more work as a photo assistant. And I thought it was interesting. Like, I worked for a fashion photographer. I worked for a travel photographer. Wow, it's like someone's going to fly us to Thailand or Portugal and all I have to do is load your camera. I worked for catalog photographer. God, 6 weeks in the Bahamas shooting swimsuit illustrated models in the ocean in bikinis.
Right.
And I'm getting paid for this.
And you get to travel.
And I get to travel. And
yep.
all of my expenses are covered. And so that was exciting at, 30 or 29. So that the travel, but there was also something else. I enjoyed the work. I liked watching photographers take pictures. Now,
are you learning? I mean, obviously you're learning technique, right?
I mean, I'm a photo assistant, but I'm working with so many different types of photographers.
Right.
Working with all the cameras, all the different types of film, and I'm learning it all.
Yeah.
Like, I have a really solid knowledge, technical knowledge of how to take a picture.
And you probably could see from your experience of looking at all of the different approaches of different photographers, which methods kind of made sense to you, or that you thought were the smartest to use, or I don't know if it's lighting or, or what kind of equipment or whatever it is. But were there certain photographers that really influenced your perspective or your eye that you had worked with, or others that you hadn't worked with that you'd love to work with?
I mean, yeah, I got to work with the best. I mean, I worked with like Terry Richardson. I mean, I worked with David LaChapelle. I was David LaChapelle's assistant. I mean, that was wild.
How long did you do that for?
6 months with David, because it was relentless. Like, you're making $125 a day, but a day might be 36 hours long.
Yeah.
And it's wild, crazy. But it was amazing to have that knowledge. Like, okay, so I've worked with fashion photographers, catalog guys, travel photographers, and then I get to work with, some guy that's shooting someone's apartment. And I liked that. Like, I like this part of it. Like, that's what I wanted to do. Like, I liked the travel photography, and I liked the lifestyle photography. I didn't like fashion.
Oh, interesting.
Didn't like it.
So what was it about the shooting the interiors? Was it seeing people's homes or a
beautiful room? Like, there was something, it wasn't so crowded. It was me and the photographer and the homeowner, the designer.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Could be considered a bit of a meditation. A fashion shoot is like, it's allowed. There's hair, makeup, hair assistants, makeup assistants, models. But I think because of, I assisted for a few years, had a mustache, and I was in okay shape. I had some tattoos. I was personable, kind of popular around New York City.
I mean, you're so fun. You're so handsome.
So the world saw me as a fashion photographer. I didn't want to be that, but that's what I became.
So when did you, though, I can't remember when you transitioned from being, assisting other big photographers and then going out on your own.
I remember.
Yeah. Was it a moment, though? Was it a moment, and was it someone saying, Doug, actually, you're taking a really great photograph?
No, it wasn't that moment. The moment I remember so clearly, I'd assisted a photographer, an interiors photographer called Fernando Bengochea, who was really good. He passed away in the tsunami.
Oh, stop
He was Nate
it.
Berkus's boyfriend.
Oh, my gosh.
So I was working for Fernando, and our editor was the brilliant Wendy Goodman from New York Magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And then maybe 2 weeks after that, because of a friend, I got hired to shoot my first story for New York Magazine, and my editor was Wendy Goodman. And it was so close. It was like 4 days, or it was less than a week from when I was Fernando's assistant with Wendy Goodman to being the photographer with Wendy Goodman. And I was like, this is so embarrassing. Like, I don't want Wendy Goodman to perceive me as an assistant. I need her.
Oh, I see.
So it was that moment on that shoot with Wendy. And I think I talked to her about it. I was like, I'm done. I'm done assisting. If I keep assisting, it's going to be a safety net. Like, and I'll never become a photographer.
Yeah.
So I stopped. I never assisted again. I turned down the work. I turned down the money. And I was like, I'm going to be a photographer. And that forced me to scramble to whatever I could do, to whoever I needed to meet, speak to. But my whole entire focus in life became trying to be a photographer. How am I going to build a portfolio of images? Who do I know that has a nice apartment that I could go photograph? And, building a book and going into labs and printing my own pictures and putting together a portfolio. And then a friend of a friend who knew the photo director at Vogue and going to meet Ivan Shaw, who liked my book and gave me a chance shooting clothes on a rack in Sheep's Meadow in Central Park. But everything I was doing at that point in my life, I must have been like 33, 34, 35, 34, was about being a photographer and about paying my rent.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't asking my family for help. I was like, I'm going to do this. I have to pay rent. I've got to have gear.
Yeah. I forgot about the gear.
Booze.
Where were you were living in the 20s then, or were you living downtown? I can't remember when.
I had that little cottage on West 12th Street.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Hansel and Gretel's cottage.
But I forgot about that. Was amazing.
It was amazing.
You've always had incredible real estate, but we'll get to that in a minute because we've got to get to Martha.
But then I remember there was, and I was getting by as a photographer, shooting food for GQ, random stuff, and then. And there was there was the day. There was the job that changed everything for me. And it was Olga Liriano? There was a photo director at Harper's Bazaar magazine that I kind of knew socially. She calls me up and she goes, "Can you shoot Diane von Furstenberg tomorrow at home?" The photographer pulled out, "We need someone." And I was like, "Of course I can do it." Scared to death. And I've got to find an assistant. I've got to rent
How do you find all the, besides the lighting and all the equipment that you need to take the picture? What about, because I think is that one of the pictures you've taken of her? You've probably shot her more than once at this point, but like she's got her big portrait behind her and she's on a sofa, or is that a more recent one?
That was the second one. That was my second shoot with her.
It was amazing. I'm sure they were all incredible, but how do you tell her, like, you show up, what to wear, how does that, do you have someone as a stylist that does that? Okay.
Well, there was a team.
Okay. But you had to put the team together, or they already had the team put together?
The team was put together, the stylist, the makeup, everybody was there.
Good.
I was coming in as the photographer. I'd never done this before. Portraits, interiors, environmental portraits, still lives. And I had to go in there, and my job was to convince those people who were all so intimidating to me, everyone there, because they'd all done it. But to convince them all that I knew exactly what I was doing.
Amazing.
And whether I knew what I was doing or not, I probably didn't. I convinced them. Like, I went in there and I directed. Maybe that's what I took away from Fincher. But I directed that room. I directed those people. You do this, you do this, and they liked me. The pictures came out great. Glenda Bailey, the editor-in-chief, she liked what I did. And from that shoot, for the next 9 years, I shot for Harper's Bazaar, which at that point was like Vogue.
Yeah.
I shot for Harper's Bazaar every month. So every month, my byline was in The Well, which was like the part of the magazine at the end with all the big stories.
Yeah.
So every month, I had 2 to 12 pages in The Well. So my name got out there because my name was in there with Karl Lagerfeld, Patrick Dumarchillier, Terry Richardson, like the biggest photographers in the world, and me.
Amazing. And amazing, though.
And that's what gave me, and I was doing environmental portraits. So I was doing fashion, big concepts, because Glenda Bailey loved big concepts, but I was always never in studio, rarely in studio. But it was portraits of important women. All of them were beautiful. Important women in their spaces.
Oh, is that what an environmental portrait is? It's a portrait of them in...
So I had to take an amazingly lit portrait of Hillary Clinton in the State Department but the State Department had to look incredible too. Like I wasn't allowed
Is
to
that
set.
is that the picture of her that's in the New York Magazine cover?
Yeah, we built a
Yeah.
set. So
Oh, stop it.
we had 10 minutes to do 2 portraits. So we went the day before. I built the set inside the State Department so that I could shoot like this, and then I could just turn the camera 80 degrees, and then it was the State Department lit, 10 lights, lit the whole thing. But so that's what, I mean, that was exciting stuff because I learned how to, under duress and in the situation, I learned how to take a beautiful portrait of someone and a beautiful portrait of the room that they were in at the same time.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't think about it that way, that you loving to shoot interiors, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of the term environmental portrait, but it makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah.
You're shooting someone not like on a beach or whatever, in their own environment, which says a lot about...
And environment. So,
Right.
But where the environment's as important, the way that room looks. And that's what I would do for Harper. It was called A Fashionable Life. And I went around the world, and I would have to shoot, like, famous, influential women, like, in their homes or in their spaces.
So tell me, either on that round the world or another, like, who's been kind of your favorite celebrity or personality to shoot?
I had so much fun with Laura Bush at the White House.
Oh, I saw that. So
God,
great.
That was a great, I mean, you're in the White House. That was a great shoot.
That's amazing. All right, tell me about that. Who was that for?
Harper's Bazaar.
Oh, that was part of that.
This was part of that
Okay.
period at Harper's Bazaar where it was like, you're going to go shoot Hillary Clinton. You're going to shoot Paris Hilton. You're going to shoot Laura Bush. You're going to shoot Linda Evangelista. You're going to, oh, wow.
Now, what was it about Laura Bush that was it her, or was it her combined with the setting of being in the White House? Yeah.
That was, I mean, what an honor.
Yeah.
Truly, what an honor. And the pre-production for that shoot was 6 months. Normally it's like a week.
Right.
So
Because
it's
security clearance and all that stuff. Yeah.
And I was given 20 minutes with Laura Bush to do 2 portraits. One of them was a portrait of her at sunrise on the lawn in front of the White House in an Oscar de la Renta gown.
In 20 minutes? Wasn't it like a red gown?
Yeah,
or was
red
that,
Oscar de la Renta
okay.
gown with her 2 terriers
Amazing.
and a
She had a costume change, though? And
Well, listen, and they wanted me to do a portrait of her in the Lincoln bedroom where the Constitution is. And I'm like, 20 minutes. I happen to be friends socially with
Barbara.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
With Barbara and Jenna. So I called Barbara. I was like, I'm going to shoot your mom, the White House. They're only giving me 20 minutes. You put in a good word for me. Well, a few days later, I get a call from Harper's Bazaar. They're like, we don't know what happened. You just got an hour with the First Lady.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So we go.
Going straight to the source.
And so I don't meet. So I get there the day before, hours to get in, and we set up all the lighting on the lawn, all of the lights on the lawn of the White House, and then we go into the Lincoln bedroom. We set up all the lights in the Lincoln bedroom, so we know exactly what to do and how to light it, and then we break it all down. And so the next morning we get there before sunrise, and we set everything up.
Oh wait, stop it! You can't leave it there. You couldn't
No.
leave it there.
No, we had to pre-light it all.
Now, was the hour you got to do prep to set it up? The hour was hour of shooting with her. Okay.
So we're set, and I'm there. The sun's rising, hitting the White House.
That's amazing.
Laura Bush comes walking out in a red Oscar de la Renta gown, smoking a cigarette with her 2 dogs.
Stop it.
Yeah. And she's like, you must be Douglas. You are so handsome. My daughters have told me all about you. And she was so disarming
And lovely,
and
right?
so lovely.
I've met her a couple of times. I haven't obviously
She was great.
shot her on the lawn of the White House.
And we took-
sunrise, but
We took an amazing portrait and then like ran up into, like, you're running across the White House lawn.
it's amazing.
You're up in the Lincoln bedroom, and it was, God, it's so funny. Glenda Bailey, it was for the Halloween issue of Harper's Bazaar. And this story with Laura Bush, who used to be a librarian, was going to appear immediately after the Harry Potter fashion story.
Oh, stop it.
So Glenda thought it'd be really great if I could get Laura Bush sitting in the
Harry
Lincoln
Potter?
bedroom reading Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Oh my gosh. Did you talk to her about it?
So I got Laura Bush sitting on a couch in the
Stop
Lincoln
it.
bedroom reading with her eyes peeking over Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And at that point, I was shooting 4x5 film. So you're putting plates of film in a camera, you're under a cloth, you're going smile, and you're clicking a button and pulling plates out. And it's an arduous, long, beautiful process. And as I'm down to like my last 3 sheets of film, the Bush's black cat walks into the Lincoln bedroom.
Come on.
Hops on the sofa next to Laura Bush, and I get the frame of Laura Bush reading Harry Potter, The Chamber of Secrets for the Halloween issue of Harper's
Stop
Bazaar
it.
with a black cat on the couch next to her.
I mean, cue the black cat. That is really, that's amazing.
It was amazing.
That's amazing. So then at that point, you're just probably after that and that entire year of doing like these incredible subjects with these incredible
8
photographs.
years.
I was going to say that at that point it's gangbusters, right? I mean, if it wasn't already, like you are being booked.
I have a career.
Yeah.
I have a career. My name is getting recognized within the industry, and I'm able to start having conversations about doing, like I just wanted to work for Architectural Digest. That's all I wanted to do, so badly.
And you're doing that like
No, now I am, but then
hand
I wasn't.
over face. But yeah, so how did you make hand over face, hand over fist? I guess hand over face might be a different thing. But what is so on the interior front, how did you then transition from kind of the environmental portrait to doing so many interiors, incredible interiors? And then I want to hear who's your favorite interior shoot?
I remember this. My agents had sent my book to Architectural Digest, no bites, and it was like El Decor, no bites, and it's disappointing because I'm doing so well in this other world.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
This is where I want to be. I'm not getting any traction. And my friend Carlos Mota, brilliant interior stylist, interior decorator, who is a stylist for Architectural Digest, invited me to a party in New York. Some, fundraising, gambling themed party in New York somewhere. And I was going instead of Peggy Russell, who is the editor-in-chief of Architectural Digest.
Oh, yeah.
She couldn't go, so Carlos took me and gave me Peggy's ticket. So the next day, I wrote her a thank you note. Like on my stationery, I wrote a handwritten note, got her address at the office, put a stamp on it, put it in the mail. And she called me a week later and she said, "Thank you so much. No one ever sends thank you notes. This means so much to me. You are such a cool guy. I'm going to give you a story." And she gave me a story at AD.
I mean, by the way, getting back to your original theme of you saying you kind of, would say yes to things and try new things. And I mean, saying yes to the ticket, right, or going to the event gave you
opportunity.
Yeah, the opportunity to write that note and then to have her call you. So what happened? So then she calls you and says, "Here's your first shoot." What was your first shoot for AD?
Gosh, I think it was shooting an artist collector, Alex Hank, and I did, or maybe it was the Hilfigers. I don't remember what my first shoot was for AD. Maybe it was Alex Hank. But I remember Peggy got really angry at me because there was a Jack Pearson art piece in the dining room that said "fuck off," and she goes, "Don't shoot that. Our readers can't see fuck off." So I'm on the shoot.
Yeah, and can't you blur out the no?
And the homeowner's like, "Oh, let's do a picture of the dining room with the Jack Pearson." You do it. I do it because he's asked me, and it's easier just to please the client. Well, Peggy got really upset. She's like, "You disobeyed me. I told you not to shoot that." I was like, "I had to shoot it, Peggy."
Yeah, you don't have to use it, Peggy.
And so I was like, "God, I blew this opportunity so fast. But that wasn't the case. Peg, I mean, she was someone, she's a friend of mine. She's become a friend of mine. And I was able to speak with her frankly as an editor, which is really nice.
Right.
She respected my point of view, the way I saw the world. She respected the way I spoke about the world. So we were able to have those conversations, which was great.
And then you did fuck off end up in AD?
No.
Okay, so everything else.
But something else happened in that period, Leslie, and I don't remember what year it was or exactly when Instagram became a thing.
So I know 2007 was when I think that's when Instagram, maybe, oh no, that's when the iPhone came out.
It was 2007.
Yes, 2007. And so if you think about that and how much that's transformed, the world in less than 20 years. So I think it was around that time. Well, we can go on the World Wide Web and find out, but around that time or the late 2000s when Instagram, I think Facebook was happening, but on your computer, not
Facebook was happening.
Right?
But Instagram became another important tool in my arsenal to achieve success.
Right.
Because I embraced Instagram at the very, very beginning. And I tried to build a brand around my photography and my life.
So
early.
I'm looking. When did Instagram come out? Oh, 2010.
So there was a moment. So when all of a sudden, when Instagram became a valuable asset for designers,
yeah, I
had a following because I'd done it from the beginning. I invested so much time in it when nobody was using it, but I had a presence there that aided my success.
How many followers do you? I mean, I've been off.
You're off.
Well, I lost my login and I couldn't figure out how to. This friend of mine, when it first came out, Fernanda Niven, I was at a dinner and she helped me get on it, and then I got a new iPhone.
Oh no!
And so her sister is one of my best friends. I said, "Can you ask your sister what my code is?" And she's like, "I don't know what your code is. I set it up. You just email yourself again," which I didn't know how to do. And then so I've been off of the gram, which is so Andrew, I know, follows you, my husband, and is envious of every meal you post and every shoot you go on. But it is incredible. I mean, how many followers do you have right now? You've got,
I think, 171,000.
It's amazing.
Which is wild that there's 171,000 people that either clicked on me and are remotely interested in what I have to show, my point of view of the world.
But isn't it? It's also, you were talking about you getting these opportunities and these jobs, being on those shoots and meeting people. It's your eye, it's your perspective, but it's you. It's your personality. It's all the things that make the Deeber that's coming through on Instagram and everything else that you shoot. And because you're so just personable and fun and funny and kind, and people want to be, so you have that rapport obviously with your subjects, right? And that comes through, I think, in your pictures when you're taking portraits, and definitely in the way that you see interiors. For your interior shoots, what's your favorite, or what's the most outrageous?
Ooh, gosh, there've been so many, and what's the most? I mean, the celebrities are the most fun to work with because you can elevate them. I don't feel compelled when I'm working with a celebrity that it has to be if I'm shooting a random wealthy couple at their home in Greenwich, it's maybe we'll just sit you on the couch with your dog while your kid's jumping in the pool.
But when it's a celebrity, you want to try to capture them in the.
There's a fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, how can we make you more fantastic in this picture? Like, I was shooting like a year ago, shooting Tommy and Dee Hilfiger at their house in Palm Beach, and beautiful house, like on the bay. They had a dock. So I walked out to the dock to see about taking a picture of the house with the water in front of it. And there was a jet ski parked at the dock. So I was like, Tommy, go put on a tuxedo. Dee, go put on a big flowy gown.
And get on the jet ski?
And so I get Tommy and Dee in a formal wear at sunset, zipping around on a jet ski with water spraying with their house in the background. And I'm like, this is the most fun. Or, Ellen Pompeo, like in a convertible with a surfboard and in a wetsuit. Like, she's coming out for the shoot and the stylists have her in these big ruffly gowns. And I was like, Ellen, you got a wetsuit?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how do you get there and you meet them and you're like, this feel is not right. So that's an example of one, right? You're like, I don't want Ellen I want to capture.
It just feels strange.
This part.
This isn't it's like, this is your cool house in Malibu. Why are you standing in the living room in couture?
I love that you took the picture of Bette Midler in her garden. Is that her garden in Millbrook? Where did you take that?
No, that was in the cloisters.
Oh my God.
Because how do you remember this? My God, this was 15 years ago. That was one of my first commissioned proper portraits. And it was Bette Midler. And I was shooting her at the cloisters because she had a program where she was something with the Parks Department.
Yes, exactly. She's in a ton with the Parks Department. When we're
with the shovel.
I'll tell you later. She and I are neighbors, and we had this big thing.
Really?
We're trying to stop these developers and stuff, and she would call me and be like, "Who are these turkeys, Leslie?" I mean, I could go on and on. She uses terms like boondoggle. I mean, she's amazing.
The Bette Midler you want.
Yes.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted the Bette Midler my fantasy of Bette Midler.
Right, because you sort of captured her spunk. Yeah, the whole thing.
That's what I wanted to see.
Okay, so interiors, portraits. Fun. You've also done some, photography exhibits, right? You've
done a few shows.
Yeah. Are you interested in doing more of that, or what?
I am. I definitely am. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot. I feel like it's a lot to ask of the people around me to constantly, give me their evening, come to my, so I don't want to overdo it. And it's just like, you got to focus. Like, if I'm going to ask,
you've got to come up with a theme or a thought. If I'm going to ask the world
to look at, to come look at my work, take time out of their day, out of their evening to come all the way, brave traffic, come to a photography show, possibly spend $12,000 on a print, whatever it is.
I was going to say, this could be not that you're looking to, have your side gig. It's not like you're
my side
driving
hustle.
for side hustle. That's like driving for Uber, but you're having your exhibit But
it's just a lot of
work. But people would love to own.
Well,
some of your images. I think that's the other.
I know. I feel that it's got to be the best possible thing, and I don't feel that I have the time to devote
to doing it now.
I will. I'll do it eventually again. And but as I really like and embrace, I'm a commercial photographer. I don't pretend or position myself as a fine art photographer.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. I love my job. I love the lane that I'm in right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
well, it's like the carpool fast lane. I mean, it's an amazing lane. It's an amazing lane. You get to pursue your art, see, meet incredible people, travel the world. Who would you, just give me one name, who would you want to take a picture of or do a shoot with that you haven't yet? Celebrity or personality?
Oh, Beyonce.
Oh.
Come on. Beyonce and a $200 million Tadao Ando beach house in Malibu.
I mean, okay. I mean, are your agents working on this?
That's never going to happen. But
I don't know. know. I don't know.
I mean, there's all the obvious ones. I am so curious, like how all of the most like ridiculously famous wealthy people live, and it's so curious to see how people spend their money. Sometimes
that's interesting.
Sometimes it's amazing. Sometimes it's repulsive.
You don't have to say names, obviously, but what would you say was like on the repulsive scale, and what's on the amazing scale? Interiors.
I mean, it's not even like this. The same thing can be repulsive in someone's hands, and it can be incredible in another person's hands. It just depends who they are. And I remember shooting a painfully wealthy couple, old American money, and they're in their 50s and they love smoking pot and eating mushrooms and going to Burning Man, and somebody spent like 6 years on their house, and it's like, you're like, is this like there's semi-precious stones like inlaid in the banister, like the amount,
stop it,
like things that you're like,
right, you could have been,
this is like Taj Mahal level, like insanity, absurdity, but they're so amazing. Their commitment to the artistry and the artisans, and they know what they're doing, and they're the artists that lived for 6 months on a scaffolding to paint the ceiling in the closet. Like, you're like, but it's incredible, and they're incredible. So what they're supporting is kind of amazing, but the same thing in someone's hands who doesn't appreciate what it is, but they just want to spend the money.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's like when what they've done isn't because they love what it is, but it's like, well, let's just make the walls alligator because it's money, let's spend it. You're like, oh, that's kind of gross. Or I don't agree with who knows, their vibe is off, or you do a little research and they don't support it. It doesn't like the personality of the homeowner becomes important in determining. I'm not going to fault someone for having money. You can't fault someone for spending their money. It's their money. Let them spend it. They earned it. They whatever. That's their lot in life. I'm not going to be jealous. But I can gauge my interest in who they are and how they choose to just be with their
their
stuff. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm explaining this very well.
No, you're making sense. You're making total sense. I think you're saying that it's one thing. You can appreciate it if they're really appreciating it, right? And they're appreciating what went into it, and as opposed to someone who just doesn't even. I mean, there are people who hire a designer and just approve a budget, or will sign off on something, or want to spend money on something,
or it's their fifth house.
I was kind of more interested in thinking about like the Shark Tank in the
the weird amenity,
like in the downstairs bar, like those kinds of things.
There was one house in Silicon Valley that, this beautiful house in a neighborhood had this beautiful like stone patio, and you could press a button, and the stone patio like sunk 8 feet down and filled with water and became the swimming pool.
See, now we're talking. We're talking.
That's
crazy. Apparatus that comes out and scratch your back before you get. I mean, I'm kind of looking.
I think like, what is it that they had that was so nuts? I think it's material. I don't remember a lot of like, people have, they want a cold plunge or a sauna. Oh, there was one house in the heart of a big city in Texas.
It's always Texas. By the way, in Dallas, they're building down. We have friends that have gone 5 stories down. It's like a car level, basketball court.
There was that one in Aspen that had a basketball court, a full-size basketball court, 50 feet below
underground. I mean, what happens when there's in a mudslide? I mean, crazy. I guess we've lived in LA
but
too long.
There was this one in this big city in Dallas, in Texas, in Dallas, that had a lazy river.
See this now?
I mean, a proper, with a rapid and a grotto, and it circled the entire property.
I mean,
a lazy river. It had a beach.
All right. Speaking of
What's his name? Now I'm reminded of Mark Anthony, who was married to J-Lo. No, but he had a beach house in the Dominican Republic, and the swimming pool was built to look like a sandy beach.
Amazing.
On the beach. So there was a huge pool with the beach.
Some have tropical fish.
But this was in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I mean, I can't.
On the beach.
I can.
Or the house that had on another house on the beach that had this cylinder. This basically was a television set that came out of the sand and then unfolded itself into a 20-foot TV on the ocean.
Yeah, see. Now we're talking.
There's some technology.
Yeah. All right, so we were living in New York and LA, I think. And then how did we come to find and create the Friedman Ranch in Marfa?
Marfa, Texas. I was dating a guy that lived in Los Angeles, and I was living in New York. And it seemed like...
Wait, was this the guy who was really very built? Kind of like a hot fireman. Was he Eastern Europe? Who's the guy?
That was Piero Capobianco.
Yeah. Okay.
He was a cartoonist.
He's sort of captured my imagination.
That was 1992, Leslie. 93. That was, my God.
I don't know, but he
was a handsome guy.
Yeah.
Italian.
Yeah.
But this was another guy a handsome guy, lived in LA. Like a hair colorist, did Miley Cyrus's blonde hair. He was the guy to go to for blonde hair. He was great.
I wish we had.
He was funny, handsome.
Missed that.
And we're like, let's go on a date that's not LA, that's not New York. What's neutral territory? Neutral territory in the middle of America was Nebraska. But I was like, that's not fun. But I had just seen a 60 Minutes episode on Marfa. So I was like, let's go to this little town in West Texas called Marfa and go see the art. Have a road trip, eat barbecue, drive through the desert. Who knows? It's an adventure. And so we did. We went. It wasn't a great weekend.
Well, is it because, besides the Prada store that doesn't have a store, things to buy or a store attendant, was there a place to stay?
It was a hotel.
Okay.
Our mistake was we were there on a Monday and a Tuesday, and everything in Marfa is closed on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Okay.
So there's no place to eat. It was July. It was raining. There was no place to go. There was no place to shop. So it wasn't great. And then, when the universe just kind of all of a sudden puts something in front of you and you can't escape it. I'd never heard of Marfa, but I had seen that 60 Minutes, went there, came back. The next week, I'm up at Martha Stewart's house in Maine. It's her birthday with some friends. And she's like, oh, I love Marfa. I did an issue of my magazine there 20 years ago called Martha and Marfa.
Stop it.
Another couple, Trey and Jenny Laird, are like, oh, we're building a house in Marfa. Stefano Tonki's there, is, magazine, and his husband David Maupin, an art dealer. Oh, we think Marfa is the best. And so all of a sudden everyone's talking about how amazing Marfa is. And the Lairds are like, you should come back with us in October. I go back with them in October. And I'm like, totally taken by this town. The landscapes.
I was going to say, what is it about it? How open it is. It's quiet.
It's remote. It's not New York. It takes a long time to get there. It gives my brain a chance to rest. And
when are you going back? When can I?
Next week.
Are you really?
I am. It's Gay Pride in Marfa.
Oh, you know what? There's a big event in Millbrook. Is it June 10th? Is this a national thing, or is this just?
It happens to be Pride Month, the month of June.
Right, but is there?
There's no
next
connection.
week. Okay, there's no next week. Okay,
there's no, but I went back that second time, and I bought land.
And
spent an afternoon looking at things and found a beautiful piece of land.
And then when did you build the house?
2 years later.
Okay.
I was like, I got in. I was like, I'm going to do this. And again, it's like, I'm going to buy some land. I'm going to put a trailer out there because I love it. But I had to drill a well, I had to run in power, I had to put in a septic, I had to put in the whole utilities. And it was expensive, and it warranted more than a trailer.
What about the pool that you have with that looks like if I sat in it, the water's going to come out?
It's a shipping container that I sunk into the ground and filled with water.
Oh, by the way, it's brilliant. I just
amazing.
meant because,
It's great.
We used to keep it a little bit tighter.
So it was like, but the project kept getting bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden I had a house and a pool and trees and a very smart accountant who was like, you've got to sell your place in New York and become a Texan.
Oh, I forgot about that piece about it.
So I did. I sold my place in New York. I became a Texan, and I moved to Marfa full time. And it works for me because I'm never there.
Right. You're traveling all the time. Yeah. So now, do you fly into Austin?
You can. Well, there's two ways. It depends what type of person you are. Because from New York to Marfa, door to door, no matter how you slice it, it's 12 hours.
Okay.
So you can fly to Dallas, Chicago, Phoenix, Atlanta, and then to El Paso, and then drive 3 hours. Or you can fly New York to Austin and drive 7. Same amount of time. Just depends if you're the type of person that likes to be in charge or if you're the type of person that wants to.
I might. I don't know what. I know I'm the kind of person who might want to get on a Delta flight to El Paso next week. We got to talk about it because it sounds I mean, I know we've been talking about this for some time.
It's something. It's a commitment to get there for a weekend because you could go to China.
But there are people who are there. Obviously, there's a year-round community. It's not just people popping in and popping out.
There's an incredible community of people that are not just artists. Most of my community there is it grows, it shrinks. Marfa's like people come and they go. You're always kind of prepared to lose the people you love most because it's a hard place to live. It's 1,500 people in the middle of the desert.
This sounds like Millbrook, except
you live in a small town.
There's like really high taxes. Yeah, I do.
People talk.
I do. Yeah.
Small towns are gossipy places. People talk. It's hard. So people are in and out.
I can't wait to the gossip after our pool party when I come down next week. So let's talk about your Instagram briefly because I know I'm keeping you way too long.
No, I love it, and I love talking about myself, Les.
Me too. We should do me next. Let's see.
I'll start a podcast.
No, it's so good. But the food thing. Andrew, my husband, who adores you, is like, you got to ask Doug, like, how does he stay so fit? He eats so much barbecue. I'm like, I don't know if he's eating everything that he's photographing, but I'm like, he does love to eat, so maybe he is. Barbecue, spaghetti,
love it.
Caviar. I mean, who doesn't?
When with Martha.
Yeah, it's a Martha thing. What does she do? Like, does she do the usual presentation, like blinis and?
No.
Or is she, but like omelets, what is she, what's her?
So I was with her over this past weekend and dinner was incredible. She made homemade borscht. So
I asked Doug what kind of thirst traps she cooked up. Oh, you probably could take some great pictures of her doing different thirst traps.
We have. We've had fun together.
I'm sure. I mean,
she's an incredible woman. She is so inspiring, and she's a good friend. Like she's a good, solid friend. She came to stay with me in Marfa a few years ago, and we're good friends, but I was still nervous that,
Well, because you probably want to make sure that
I'm thinking
she only likes good things. But
I'm thinking I'm not thinking about my friend Martha coming to visit. I'm thinking about Martha Stewart is coming to my house. Like, do I hire a cleaning lady every day? Do I have a caterer? What do I? And then I was like, she's my friend. Just do it the way you would do it. Like anyone would show up. And we have the most fun weekend in Marfa with our friend Kevin Sharkey. And at the end of the trip, she goes, I just want to thank you so much. She goes, no one ever invites me to their home to come stay because they're all afraid to have me. So this meant the world to me.
I'm happy to have her.
Loved it.
I mean, I know that
she's great.
I mean,
so how does she serve caviar? We had dinner and we had cold beet soup, and then she baked some potatoes, And she takes these potatoes like in a rag, and then she smashes it as hard as she can on the counter, and the potato just kind of like splinters apart. And then she fills it with sour cream, butter, and like literally tablespoons of caviar thrown in.
Oh my
It's
God.
the most.
Oh my God.
And the thing is, though, you're eating this like on a bar stool in the kitchen, like at the counter. Like it's not. It's this high low. It's not lost on me that it's an incredible privilege to have access to those things. And she does, and she doesn't have to be apologetic about having, because she worked so hard.
Oh, she did.
And if she wants to put 4 tablespoons of caviar in my baked potato, then she should be allowed to do that, and I'll enjoy it. And I won't apologize for it. It's great, and that's how she likes to do it. And it's easy. She's not making you revere the moment, with the bone spoon. And here's
Right.
more eggs.
Well, I'm happy to bring the potatoes down to Martha and the caviar.
I posted some pictures of it, and the internet can be a rough place.
Oh, stop it! Were people giving you a hard time about the caviar?
Yeah, there's a lot. I make the mistake sometimes of like reading the comments.
Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that.
There's a lot. I'll say there's a lot of support. I'm aware that.
Can't you take those people off?
I do. I delete. People say mean things. It's not. It's there, but a majority of it is positive. I love Instagram. I love using it. I love pushing the information out there because I'm aware of the response that it has. Like just last week, I was working in Hawaii, and I was leaving. We were sitting at the restaurant with the crew, and the waiter slips me a note, and I open the note, and it's this handwritten note, and it's like, I just want to say, I love what you do. You bring so much joy to my life. It's changed the sweetest thing, and I don't know who it comes from.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I'm walking to the...
I thought you were going to be like, he's like, I'm in room 410.
And so as I'm leaving the restaurant, this woman and her friend... She's like, I wrote that, and she's crying.
Stop it.
And she's telling me how much joy I bring to her day and how inspired she is by the things that I post and how I see the world. And she was crying. She was, can I give you a hug? And I was like, it was so.
That's amazing, Doug. That's
like,
great.
I'm just Doug Friedman from the Upper West Side. Taking pictures. And
what did you tell me that Snoop Dogg calls you?
Dougie Fresh.
Dougie Fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just Dougie Fresh.
Just Dougie Fresh. And so it's moments like that I remember more than
the people that are trolling and saying. Well, obviously the people that are doing that are not.
Is there a little maybe sometimes it show off, but most of it's I'm proud of the things that I'm doing. I'm proud of the way that I've built this life. I'm proud of the friends that I have.
Yeah.
And I want to put beautiful things out
as you
into
should.
the world.
And that, by the way, that's also your art. You're sharing the photographs. You're not just, do you know what I mean? You're not just, talking about the
Well, I'm also curating
caviar.
that picture is a lot of work. That one picture of a bowl of spaghetti meatballs takes some time.
Okay, speaking of that, so I'm keeping you way over, and our poor friend Max in the booth over there. He's a man who knows too much. He's been sitting there like, God, these two yucking it up over here. Okay, favorite meal, real fast.
Oh, favorite meal is.
Oh my God, this is almost like we're playing. He almost jumped out of his chair.
My favorite meal is poached eggs.
Stop it.
I love poached eggs in a bowl of oatmeal with a lot of salt and a lot of pepper.
Okay.
And more butter on that toast than should be on that list.
Favorite city?
Can it be my favorite city as of this moment? Because it's an evolving thing, but I am weirdly into El Paso, Texas right now.
Oh, interesting.
So I've been trying to spend a night on either end of my trips to Marfa and El Paso.
Because you'll fly, you were saying you can connect and go to El Paso and then drive the 3 hours.
Which is the preferred.
So that's where I should go when I invite myself next week.
You could come to El Paso, then leave through Austin. Okay. You could do but I like El Paso.
Favorite or best beach, in your opinion,
Mystique.
in the world?
It's called Macaroni Beach in Mystique.
Favorite hotel pool.
Ooh, well, okay. My favorite hotel pool is the Standard in Miami.
Okay, yeah.
That is a great. I mean, the rooms. It's kind of like being at camp, but the vibe, the pool. It's so easy to be there. So I would say that's my favorite hotel. I'm a creature of habit. I stay at the Standard in Miami. I stay at the Standard in New York City. I stay at the L'Hermitage in.
Do you stay in hotels now when you come? You don't stay at
No,
Karen and Gino's?
I live in. Oh, no, they offered that once, and I was like, why do I feel like I'm 16 but I'm 50? It's not. I like hotels.
Oh, you should. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a fan of the, and like I've just started. You know, I kind of bounce between the Chelsea Hotel Chelsea in New York, which is great. I like the ones.
What's your LA hotel?
It's called L'Hermitage.
Oh,
it's a really quiet kind of.
Isn't it West Hollywood?
That's Petite L'Hermitage.
Oh, okay.
L'Hermitage is this old school hotel on Burton Way in Beverly Hills. It's all suites. Like they embroider your initials on the pillow.
Oh, amazing.
And it's, there's underground parking, so like people that don't want to be, there's no scene there. It's really great service. But I had a friend that did PR, and during the pandemic, they were kind. They were like, well, they gave me kind of a room for very little, which is how I could afford to stay at this all suites fancy hotel. And they've continued with this very generous. So,
you have a special rate?
So special. Well,
maybe then.
It was a residency at first. So it was basically.
Oh, because did you stay there?
Yeah. Well, I was there a lot.
And then you were in Marfa. You were in Marfa for a lot,
Marfa
right?
for 3 months. And then, Texas opened early.
I mean.
They were like, let's get back to business,
I love
Texas.
that. I love that.
Which I thought was kind of well, let's not get into it. But the L'Hermitage is great. And they're so kind. And I like these hotels because I spend so much time in hotels. It's just nice when the people that work there seem to like the work that they're doing there.
Yeah.
It's like I know my cleaning ladies, I know the valets, I know the receptionists.
It's like your Cheers.
It's
your
their
Cheers.
names.
It's
and
your
all
Cheers.
the hotels I stay at, and so it's just nice to be when there's so little consistency in a schedule in a life that.
I mean, even getting you in here. I mean, you've got
we tried.
You've got a lot.
Well, listen, I'm so glad it worked out this way and not
by Zoom.
I'm on with.
I know. I was going to send Doug microphones in Hawaii, which also meant we had to do different time zones, and I didn't get to see you for 2 hours.
This is better.
It's so much better. But well, I mean, just when I thought I knew it all, I mean, I did know things about you that even you forgot, but it's just so great to hear, to be reminded of your story and all the things you've accomplished.
25 years later, Les?
No, us or your work?
Us.
No, I'm 49. 30. I was 18 when I met you, so 31. Oh, shit. 31 years in September.
Wow.
I know, the party on the rock. Anyway, I love you. I'm so proud of you. I mean, you are such a talent, and as I mentioned, I don't know how to get back on Instagram. I'm sure there's a simple way to fix this, and I'm going to have to figure it out with the podcast because I'm working on that right now, my professional Instagram. But I do get to live vicariously through Andrew's Instagram to see all your incredible pictures. So
let's get you back.
I'll be back, and I look forward to the photos you'll be taking of me.
Yeah.
And I've got this new bathing suit that's like a Spanx Meta. His friends of mine started it. And so it's got like a belt. It's sort of like, kind of like the mom. It's actually not like the mom jeans. It's pretty chic. What is it called? Skimmist, I think. It's my friend Joanne King and Chrissy McCurdy's line. Hold on a second. I'm going to tell you right now.
Should we have a pool party?
Skimmist. Well, that's what I'm thinking.
Desert.
Skims.
Skims is Kim Kardashian's.
That's where. Remember you told me that she was. I remember you telling me that she was just incredible to me. Like you felt like you were really in the presence of a real force being around Kim.
She was fun. I mean, I remember shooting her at her house, and like just sitting on the kitchen counters eating burritos with her.
Okay, it's okay. Stylist and actually they patented this system because there's a bra inside the bathing suit. I'm going to send you this. This is an article about the women wear. But this is their
It
stuff.
kind of holds you in.
And Joanne was an editor at Harper's Bazaar before she.
What's her name?
Joanne King. And anyway, I'm going to send this to you because this is what I'm going to wear, and I have a great cover up.
Oh,
and you can
strong outfits are encouraged in West Texas.
Okay, well, I'm going to send this to you now.
And hats.
Okay, I've got it all. All right, so to be continued.
Yes,
love you. Love seeing you. Love hearing about all the things I didn't know were going on.
Good luck editing
and just
this down.
can't. What's that?
Good luck editing this down.
Yeah, no kidding. Poor Max. It's like the scene of an airplane. Max is in the booth ready to hang himself from the rafters.
Can of gasoline.
I mean, here he's got a match. Somebody's walking by with a lighter. All right, to be continued. Love you.
Love you.
That brings us to the end of this episode of The Interview. A huge thanks again to Douglas Friedman for joining us. We hope you learned a little something and had some fun along the way. And as always, thanks for listening to The Interview. If you enjoy the show, I hope you'll subscribe, rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and follow us on Instagram at The Interview with Leslie Heaney. A new podcast is released every Wednesday. And until then, this is Leslie Heaney, and don't forget to join The Interview.